everyone, it's Stephanie here, and welcome back to A Very Crafty Holiday for 2018. Today is our last day in our week-long holiday event, and I'm going to be sharing some gift tags with you today. I love these little precious Polaroids dies. They're a lot of fun because you can create a lot of different looks with them, since you can kind of put anything that you want inside of the frame. And for this, I decided to use the largest one only, and I'm going to make a set of 5 different tags that are going to look like actual photos. So for the images inside of the little Polaroids, I'm going to use the Deck the Howls stamp set. This is a really cute stamp set, especially if you are a dog lover. It has a bunch of different dog images that are dressed up and ready for the holidays, and I thought it would be cute to put them into the frames for the tags. The little guy at the bottom there with the antlers on his head with the ornaments was actually the inspiration for these, because I thought it would look kind of cute to have him just with his head in the frame, almost like he was taking a selfie and didn't quite have the camera positioned properly. I thought he was really cute, and he was the reason I wanted to create the tags in this way. So to start off, I stamped out my images onto a piece of Neenah Solar White cardstock. This is the 110 pound, and I stamped all of those with extreme black ink so I can use my Copic markers to do the coloring. And now I'm using one of the die-cut Polaroid frames just to figure out where I want to position this over the dog's head. Since I can't fit their entire bodies into each of the frames, I'm just kind of trying to decide which parts I want to use so that when I die-cut them, I have that part of the stamped image in the middle of the frame. Okay, so now that we have them all die cut, you can see that we have the stamped image on both the inside as well as the outside of that Polaroid frame. And since we want the outside to be completely white, I die cut them all a second time from the same cardstock, and I'm just going to take out the centers of those ones and replace them with the centers that have the stamped images. And then once we have all of the centers replaced, you can see how great those looked, and they actually look like little Polaroid photos of different dog images. And this guy here is my favorite. You can see how I just kind of did half of his body, so he's kind of peeking up. I just think he's adorable, and I would have been completely fine just creating all of the tags with him, but I did want to show all of the rest of the dogs as well. So now that I have all of the frames ready to go, I need to do some coloring on each of these inside pieces to finish the photos. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take some tumbled glass distress ink, and I'm going to add it around the outside edges. This is just going to add a little bit of color so it's not completely stark white, and this will help the photo kind of stand out from the frame that we're going to put it into. Doing it this way is just going to add a little bit of color just to have it so it's not completely white, but if you want to make it even more colorful, you can actually color the entire background if you prefer that. It just depends on the look you're going for. But for this one, I decided to keep it kind of simple and just have a little bit of that blue on the outside edge, and now we're going to color in the images with our Copic markers. So for this one here, I'm going to do the dog with some gray colors. I'm using warm grays to color him in. And I'm starting off first with my lightest color just to saturate the paper and make it easier to blend out my colors. I'm then going in with my darkest of the W's that I'm going to use, which is W4, and I'm adding just a little bit of dark detail on various spots on the dog's head, and then I'm going to go in and blend that out with the W2. I'm going to go back and forth with the 3 different W's just till I get a really nice blend and I'm happy with it. Sometimes when you go in with your lighter colors, it does take away some of that darker color, so it's nice to go back in and just kind of freshen up those darker areas. For the front of his face, I'm using E41 and E42 just to add a little bit of color there, but keep it pretty light. I don't want it to kind of overpower the colors that we use for the dog. For his nose, I'm using a red color, and I'm going to do that on all of the dog's noses, which seems a little odd, I'm sure, but I wanted them to kind of look like Rudolph when I finish them, and I'm going to add a fun glittery red gem to the top of all of their noses once the coloring is done. So I just added the red there just to kind of make sure that I didn't see any of that white showing through once we add the gem on there. For the rest of this one here, I'm using some greens. I'm using YG01, YG23, and YG17, which is my favorite green combination. And then I'm also going to bring a little bit of aqua in to color in the star in the center of his ornaments. And then I use the reds there on the circle ornament. And this is the only one I'm going to show all of the coloring on screen. I do all of the rest the exact same way. I'm going to use the same tumbled glass distress ink to add some color around the outside edge. For the 2 dogs where their feet are kind of floating in the air, I'm going to add a little bit of pumice stone on the bottom to give them a little bit of a ground. And then I'm going to do the Copic coloring the same as I did with this one. And for all of them, I'm using the same general color combination so they all kind of go together and match each other. Okay, so now we have all of our little images colored here. We have all of our dog photos ready to go. And I'm ready to start to assemble them into the frame. And you can see those 2 there are the ones I mentioned. I added a little bit of pumice stone to make it look like they had ground that they were standing on. And then I used the same tumbled glass at the top area of those. Now to assemble the frames, I want to add a piece of cardstock to the back of each frame, which is going to allow me to add the photo onto the inside and leave them just as is and let the entire Polaroid be the actual gift tag. So I'm going to take these little pieces of white cardstock that I've cut slightly smaller than the frame, and I'm going to add adhesive all over them so that I can add them to the frame, and I also will have some sticky area in the center where I can put the photo inside of the frame. So I'm just putting this adhesive all over the back of here. I'm going to add it to the back of the Polaroid frame, which is going to show some of that adhesive in the window opening. And then I'm going to take each of the inside photos and just put them inside of each of these frames to complete our Polaroid gift tag. I'm going to do that with all of these and make sure that I have them all in there nice and secure. And then once I have that done, we can do our finishing elements to complete our gift tags. Okay, so now we have all of the Polaroids assembled, all of our photos are ready to go, and now we can add a couple of finishing touches on these just to kind of step them up a bit. So the first thing I want to do is add a little greeting at the bottom of the frame. So I'm going to use 3 different ones from the stamp set that will fit in this small area. I'm using Deck the Howls on 2 of them. I'm going to use the Happy Holidays on 1 of them, and then I'm going to use Feliz Navidad on 2 of them, which is my favorite from this set. I just think it's so cute, and I really wanted that one to be paired with that first guy who has the ornaments on his head, so I made sure to stamp that one on there. And I just stamped them all onto these frames with some black licorice dye ink, and that's going to leave space on the back of these Polaroids to be able to write who the gift is going to go to and who it's from. I just love these adorable dog images peeking out of these frames. I think it is so cute. And the sky is the limit with this type of tag because there's so many different things that you could put into the photo. You could use Christmas images. We have a lot of new stamp sets that would work great in here. Secret Santa would look really cute because you have the Santa image peeking out from behind the tree. So there's just lots of different images that would work really well in a tag like this. Now, like I mentioned before, I want to add a little sparkly nose to each of the dogs, so I'm taking some Doodlebug enamel dots. These are some sprinkle ones, and I'm adding 1 of these to each of the dogs' noses. And this guy here is getting a medium-sized one, which is even cuter because he has a little bit of a larger nose and the small one wouldn't quite cover it all. So I added all of those to their noses, and now I'm going to go in with my Nuvo glitter pen, and I'm going to add some glitter to different areas on each of these little images here. So for the first guy, I did it on the ornaments. For this guy here, I'm doing it on all of the Christmas lights that are wrapped around him. And then for the other guys, I'm going to do it on their accessories. So I'm going to put it on his scarf, I'm going to put it on the sweater on the other dog, and then I'm also going to put it on the scarf on the other dog. The glitter pen does tend to pick up some of that color when you're using it, so I do recommend kind of scribbling it off onto a piece of scratch paper in between each color, especially red, since that will definitely transfer to some of the lighter colors. So I'm just finishing up here with his sweater, and then the last thing I want to do to these is I'm going to add a string to each of them so that we can easily tie them onto a gift. Now it's completely optional if you want to do this step. If you want to just kind of adhere them down on the top of a gift without a string, then you can just do them as is. But I did want to include a string on mine, so I just used a hole punch and added a little hole in the top corner of each of those little Polaroid frames. And now I'm taking some Doodlebug twine and I'm just going to put it in through the hole and then tie it into a little circle there. This will allow me to use them on gifts, or they can also be hung on a Christmas tree, which would be really cute. And I did decide to add a little bit of crystal glaze to some of these finished frames. I didn't add it to all of them, but I did add it to the first guy's little scarf there, to the 2 little balls on his scarf. I added it to the Christmas lights, and then I'm also adding it to the ornaments on this one here. And that's just going to give us a nice ray shiny effect and just make it a little bit more dimensional. And then once we have that done, we have completed our gift tag set. We have 5 different gift tags that feature these adorable dog images, and they all look like little Polaroid frames, so they look like little snapshots of the dogs. I hope you got some ideas for different ways that you could use these products to create some holiday gift tags. Thank you so much for joining us for A Very Crafty Holiday this year. All of the supplies I used are linked in the video description below, and I hope to see you in another video soon. Thanks so much for watching.